Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and friends in town to host a hearing, field forum, if you will, on crime in Chicago, as they'd previously done in New York. A testimony from locals included Gianno Caldwell, friend of the show, whose brother was murdered on the South Side about a year and a half ago. He was on the show. He had this to say during his testimony.
Living in Chicago should not come with a death sentence, but it does for too many Chicagoans. The elected officials here have systematically endangered the lives of all Chicagoans, but especially those of color, the marginalized who they claim to care about the most.
And in addition to that offering, which was pointed, appropriately so, Carlos Yanez, who is the officer who was Ella French's partner, he was seriously injured on the night that she was murdered. He named names, and that's why I really appreciate one of the reasons I appreciate his testimony yesterday. He named a name you're familiar with. Her name is Kim Fox.
COPA continues to serve suspension days to officers like candy on Halloween. Cook County has its own issues under Kim Fox's administration. I've never heard of so many state's attorneys resigning or transferring to other counties, refusing to no longer work under her.
And he named another name, effectively naming Pritzker, when he, in the post-game press conference, discussed the potential impact of Pritzker's purge law, the so-called Safety Act.
I just would like to see some accountability. I feel that a lot of leaders and elected officials right now that came up with this Safety Act, with this cash bail, should be held accountable for when these offenders are released and then attack the victims and the witnesses that are basically going to be their witness, for court. It's terrible what's going to happen, and I already see it happening, and they should be held accountable.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by the president of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. Chicago FOP hosted the House Judiciary hearing yesterday. John Cantanzara joins us. John, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan and Amy.
What was your takeaway from yesterday's testimony, coverage et al.?
The facts aren't anything really new. They're certainly facts we all knew. The reality was adding faces and emotion and stories to the facts that people can relate to. Mr. Caldwell was absolutely riveting in his testimony. Carlos, I couldn't be prouder, especially, Carlos is also an FOP board member. He nailed it and literally knocked it out of the park, and I know it meant a lot to him, and I recommended him actually to the committee to give testimony because I just think he's a relatable figure that puts a face on the violence in this city.
But do you think anything is going to change because of yesterday's hearing?
Well, the House Judiciary Committee doesn't really have much leverage. I don't know what Washington, D.C. can really do when it comes to rogue prosecutors. I hope they can possibly figure something out, but the reality is the Chicago Police Department has 7 layers of oversight for our officers to have to deal with. 7 different hurdles of people saying in Monday morning quarterbacking what we do. What is the oversight for prosecutors in this country? Nothing. They get elected and they could do whatever they want. The simplest example is how Kim Fox is allowed to interpret a shoplifting statute and not charge anybody unless they shoplift over $1,000. That's in clear violation of the felony statute.
What has this was less talked about, but what has the impact of the migrants being housed in police stations and just the general additional pressure, resource allocation, pressure on resource allocation and general pressure on policing? What has that been over the last several weeks and months as the city elders try to figure out what they're going to do with all the people coming in?
Well, you get a new mayor and you kind of hope against hope that things are going to be different. We have a new superintendent later today, more than likely, so you kind of see maybe a little light at the end of the tunnel, and you got to keep dealing with this. They just shut down the 16th District Police Station yesterday to clean it because there's a scabies issue there. Not only were migrants there with it, but also an officer got scabies.
Ugh. Well,
And
here's an idea. Don't let them in there. Why are they camping out? It's just disgusting.
agreed, and it's a recurring theme. We've argued, complained, filed complaints with OSHA. Nobody seems to give a damn. But the response from the city was, we will clean the lobby. But what they fail to realize, whether ignorance or just they don't give a damn, is that issue was dragged out throughout the whole department and that whole station. The whole station needs to be fumigated in theory and closed down, whether it's for sections at a time, whatever. But the whole place needs to be cleaned, not just the lobby.
What is being communicated beyond this sort of temporary problem of police stations as way stations for migrants? What's being communicated from, if anything, from the fifth floor to police about their role and responsibilities with respect to this population? Anything?
So, yeah, well, the mayor's chief of staff, we've been in contact with him. I will say Rich Gaitis has absolutely responded when called or returning phone calls. That's not been an issue. I was told personally that the plan was to have them all out by the end of this month, out of the police stations and into brick and mortar situations elsewhere in the city. Well, Sunday's coming fast. We shall see how real that really is.
Yeah, but 7 more busloads were dropped off last night. It was supposed to be 8, and it turned out to be 7. And they're like,
Yeah, well,
I just fear that when those people leave the police districts, that then the newcomers are going to move right back into it.
That's exactly what I brought up to Rich. I said, okay, great. You get the police stations emptied out. You put them all in these brick and mortar leases you guys are signing. The 10th city they're building will be ready, and that will be a processing and overflow kind of situation. I said, but what happens when the buses keep coming? Brick and mortar places are full. The 10 cities are full. Then where are they going? It better not be back into the police station.
Well, the other thing is, are you
Did they
supposed
say
to
that?
provide security for these installations? I mean, we've had crimes reported among the migrants that were being housed, if you will, at O'Hare Airport and elsewhere. We've seen this around the country. So what is there going to be a police patrol for migrant areas like any other neighborhood in Chicago? Is that how it's going to be?
I have no clue. I would assume, given Channel 5's investigation on where the money's being spent, they'll probably have some outside connected law firm probably paying security guards more than they pay Chicago police officers currently to go and sit on these situations. It's just such a screwed up situation, and it's been avoidable. I applaud Alderman Napolitano, Lopez, and the rest who signed to have a ballot initiative about rescinding the sanctuary city status. We'll see where that goes, but at least there's some efforts being made to try and unwind this mess.
Garrido, in his testimony, retired Chicago Police Lieutenant John Garrido, in his testimony yesterday, mentioned that CPD is down 1,700 officers from where they need to be. Is that number accurate? Number one, and then number two, what is the plan, if there is one, to add to the ranks, if that's even attractive enough for people to want to go to the academy and become a Chicago police officer? I don't know.
So the number kind of fluctuates. It's hard to put a bullseye on it. Actually, I think 1,700 is a pretty good target number. You can go anywhere from 1,600 to 2,000, depending on who you ask. But the recruitment issue isn't going away anytime soon, and it's strictly because far too many politicians and news outlets have villainized this profession and made it unattractive where nobody wants it. But there's also an issue with public service in general. The fire department, even when they gave their test, had historically low interest in becoming firemen, which was never an issue also. And it's not like their profession is getting imprisoned for using too much water or breaking too many windows in a fire.
Wait, I see billboards up around the expressways that come become a Chicago police officer. Those aren't working.
And, well, I mean, it doesn't work, but all you can do is try, right? I applaud at least efforts of trying to encourage a different mindset of the police department. But, I know when it comes to recruitment bonuses, which a lot of other departments are doing, I know that's one thing that Chief Snelling is not in favor of. He doesn't believe that you should be, basically, I don't want to say bribing, I don't know, incentivizing people to come take this job to that level. It's a good paying job right now, and he believes that that's enough. We've had that conversation.
Well, once Larry Snelling is the new police superintendent, can he get to Kim Fox? And do you think that anything's going to change when he is in office or in his position?
I mean, she seems pretty stubborn. I mean, even her own husband called her a bully. So I don't see Chief Snelling making any difference, really. So as far as Kim Fox's office is concerned and charging, but I guess hope springs eternal.
Well, I mean, she wouldn't let him play his video games.
Yeah, I mean, what 50-year-old man doesn't like his video games?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Call of Duty is calling in the basement.
So where do we stand with negotiations between FOP and the city on a contract? Where does that stand?
Well, we've been in the interest arbitration process for a little while now, and it also bled off into mediation, and those conversations have been pretty in-depth, and there is pretty much an agreed-upon package, if you want to say that, where the interest arbitration process would conclude. It was all contingent upon Chief Snelling becoming the superintendent, getting that hurdle out of the way, and then focusing on this package and presenting that along with the 2 awards that Arbitrator Ben has already awarded us, and kind of present it all together to the City Council and go with it from there. So I would assume once Chief Snelling is the superintendent later today, in the very near future here, we should have an announcement about the package that us and the city have negotiated to this point and see where it goes.
Even with Snelling coming on as a superintendent, I know you're guardedly optimistic and supported him for the post. But, I mean, do you still see Brandon Johnson as somebody who is a antagonist, or do you see any possibility that there'll be a constructive relationship between the mayor and FOP?
I mean, there's nothing, I shouldn't say there's nothing. There's nothing major to say that there isn't opportunity here. The thought that, okay, the city finally got rid of the blight that was Mayor Lightfoot, and was Brandon our pick? Everybody knows it wasn't, but I think Mayor Johnson has tried to some degree to be different, and that's applauded, that he's not in front of the microphone screaming and ranting and raving about the police are the problem for everything in this city. So I would like to think there's optimism to think that the mindset, at least as far as I'm concerned, is that we didn't think we were going to see the real Brandon Johnson until after the convention next year anyway. So that, in theory, gives us a year. And with Chief Snelling becoming the superintendent and the situations that are inevitably going to occur in this city, that Superintendent Snelling could kind of educate him in a way that maybe he doesn't understand police work right now, and highlight some things and change his perspective a little bit, so that once the convention is gone, Mayor Johnson is not the concern that we have going forward in 2024.
We'll see what happens when the real Slim Shady stands up, won't we? Yes, that's going to be interesting. John Cantanzara, President of Chicago FOP. John, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good morning.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm Dave Nissen, CEO of PKF Mueller. As a CPA firm, we have been serving our business clients since 1968 by providing audit, accounting, tax, advisory, and consulting services. We as trusted advisors go beyond what our clients hired us to do by thinking outside the box to understand their operations and industry. We want to discover ways to increase their net income and cash flow by reducing costs or increasing efficiencies. To this end, PKF Mueller provides several client value-added services through strategic relationships. Our partners are specialists in solutions serve the same type of clients that we do and add value by reducing our clients' overall electric and gas costs, discovering inaccuracies and overcharges on utility bills, assisting in financing of real estate, and helping to reduce uncollectible accounts and bad debt expenses. To learn more about our value-added service providers and how we can assist, call me directly at 630-524-5274 or dnissen@pkfmueller.com.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm telling you, I love these. I have so many benefits from this. I should be your testimony on TV because they have done so much for me. It really helped me so much.
I've noticed some improvements over time. I noticed that I used to eat a lot of cookies and snack between meals, and I've stopped doing that because I just don't feel a desire to do that. My energy lasts longer, I have more endurance, and a number of things I'm happy with.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer